She stood near the gate of her house, her arms crossed, eyes fixed on the road as if waiting for something better to appear. The evening breeze played with her hair, but her face showed irritation, not romance. When she finally saw him, her expression changed, not into happiness but disappointment. He was walking. As always. His shoes were slightly dusty, his shirt neatly ironed but clearly old. No bike. No car. Just a simple man walking toward the woman he loved, believing love didn't need an engine or fuel. "Why are you always like this?" she said the moment he reached her. "Like what?" he asked softly, smiling, still catching his breath. "Like this," she snapped, pointing at the road. "Walking. Every single time. Do you know how embarrassing it is for me?" He stayed silent. He had learned that arguing only made things worse. "All my friends come on bikes. Cars," she continued. "And you come walking like some delivery boy." "I don't mind walking," he replied calmly. "It keeps me grounded." She laughed, a sharp, cold laugh. "Grounded? No. You're just poor. And I'm tired of pretending that doesn't matter." That was the moment something cracked inside him. "I'm trying," he said. "I work day and night. I just need time." "I don't have time," she replied instantly. "I have options." The word options echoed louder than her voice. She took a step back. "I can't do this anymore. My parents were right. Love doesn't pay bills. Love doesn't buy respect. So that's it?" he asked. "After everything?" "Yes," she said without hesitation. "We're done." She turned around and walked back inside without looking back even once. He stood there long after the gate closed. No tears fell. Just a heavy silence settled in his chest. That night, he walked home slower than ever, every step reminding him of what he had lost. Not just her, but his belief that love alone was enough. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. He stopped calling. Stopped explaining. Instead, he started working like a man with nothing left to lose. He took risks others were afraid of. Slept in his office. Ate cheap food. Failed again and again, but never stopped. While she moved on quickly. New clothes. New phone. New circle. She told everyone she had made the right choice. He had no future, she would say confidently. "I deserve better." And for a while, life seemed to agree with her. Then one day, an email landed in her inbox. Interview confirmation, senior marketing executive position. The company name made her heart skip. It was one of the fastest growing companies in the country. High salary. Big reputation. A chance to finally live the life she always wanted. She spent hours preparing. Bought a new outfit. Practiced answers in front of the mirror. She imagined herself sitting in a big office, proving everyone right. On the day of the interview, she entered the building with confidence, heels clicking on the marble floor. The reception area was massive, modern, filled with people who looked important. She sat in the waiting area, scanning the room. Then suddenly, her breath stopped. Across the glass wall, she saw a familiar figure walking past. Same height, same posture. But everything else was different. A tailored suit, confident walk, people greeting him with respect. No dust on shoes, no tired eyes. Her heart started racing. "No," she whispered to herself. "It can't be him." But it was. The man who once walked to meet her because he couldn't afford anything else, was now walking through his own company. She didn't know it yet. But life was about to return every word she had once spoken. She tried to convince herself it was just a coincidence. Big cities were full of familiar faces. Maybe it was someone who just looked like him. Maybe her mind was playing tricks. But her hands were shaking. The receptionist called out a name. Not hers. She swallowed hard and adjusted her blazer, forcing herself to focus. This was her moment. Whatever ghosts from the past wanted to appear, she wasn't going to let them distract her. Minutes later, a young assistant stepped into the waiting area. "Miss Aisha," he called. She stood up quickly. "Yes. Please follow me." They walked through long corridors lined with glass walls. Inside those offices, people were working with intense focus. Screens full of data. Meetings in progress. Everything screamed success. This was exactly where she belonged, she told herself. The assistant stopped in front of a conference room. You can go in. She took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The room was quiet. A large table. 3 empty chairs on one side. On the other side, a single chair facing the window. The man standing near the window turned around slowly. Her world stopped. There was no doubt now. It was him. Same eyes. Same calm expression. But now there was authority in his presence, something unshakable. He looked at her, recognition flickering for just a second, and then disappearing behind a professional mask. Please, he said politely, gesturing toward the chair. Have a seat. She sat down, her mind screaming. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I'm sure you're surprised, he continued calmly, taking his seat across from her. But let's keep this professional. Professional. The word hit her harder than any insult ever could. I didn't know, she finally said. I mean, I had no idea this was your company. He nodded slightly. Most people don't. That's intentional. 2 other interviewers entered the room and greeted him respectfully. Shall we begin, sir? One of them asked. Sir. Her heart sank. Yes, he replied. You may start. The interview began. They asked her about her experience, her skills, her achievements. She answered confidently at first, trying to regain control. But every time she spoke, she felt his eyes on her, not judging, not angry, just distant. Why did you leave your previous company? One interviewer asked. She hesitated for a fraction of a second. I was looking for growth. Stability. A place where my efforts would be valued. He leaned back slightly in his chair. Interesting, he said calmly. So stability matters a lot to you? Yes, she replied quickly. Very much. He nodded again, making a note on the file in front of him. Tell me, he continued, what do you think matters more in success, potential or current status? She felt her throat tighten. I think, current status shows results, she said carefully. Potential is just a promise. He looked up at her, eyes sharp now. A promise, he repeated. And do you think promises are worthless? No, she corrected herself nervously. I mean, they need proof. Silence filled the room. You know, he said slowly, there was a time when people looked at me and saw no proof. No car, no bike, just a man walking. Her face went pale. They judged me by how I arrived, not by where I was going. The other interviewers exchanged glances, sensing something deeper but not fully understanding it. I learned something important back then, he continued. People who only respect outcomes often fail to recognize journeys. She couldn't breathe properly. The interview ended soon after. Thank you for your time, one interviewer said politely. We'll inform you of our decision. She stood up, legs weak, and turned to leave. Miss Aisha, he said. She froze. Yes. He stood up and walked toward her, stopping at a respectful distance. I hope you get everything you're looking for, he said calmly. Just remember, sometimes what looks small today becomes unreachable tomorrow. She nodded silently and left the room. Outside, she collapsed into a chair, her confidence shattered. Memories flooded back, his dusty shoes, his quiet smile, his words about time. That evening, she received an email. Congratulations. You have been selected for the final round. Relief washed over her, mixed with fear. The final round was scheduled for the next day. When she arrived, she was escorted not to a conference room, but to the top floor. His office. The door closed behind her. This isn't an interview, he said, standing near his desk. This is closure. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, she whispered. I was young. I was foolish. I didn't believe. You believed, he interrupted gently. You just believed in comfort more than struggle. She looked down, ashamed. I don't hate you, he said honestly. But I will never forget how you made me feel standing outside that gate. Silence. So, what happens now? She asked softly. He looked at her for a long moment. That, he said, depends on whether you came here for a job, or forgiveness. She stood there, her hands clenched together, heart pounding so loud she was sure he could hear it. The office was quiet, filled with soft light and the distant hum of the city below. This was not the same man who once waited outside her gate, hoping she would come out smiling. This man had already won his war. I came for a job, she said finally, her voice trembling. But I also came because I needed to face what I did. He nodded slowly, as if he had already expected that answer. Sit, he said gently. She sat down, feeling smaller than ever before. You know, he began, walking toward the window, when you left me that day, I didn't just lose you. I lost my confidence. For a long time, every step I took felt heavier than the last. She closed her eyes. But something changed, he continued. I realized that if someone could abandon me so easily because I walked instead of drove, then I needed to build a life so strong that no one could ever measure me that way again. She looked at him, tears finally spilling over. I was wrong, she whispered. I measured love with money. Respect with appearance. I thought walking meant you were going nowhere. He turned to face her. And now I see that walking meant you were moving forward, she said softly. Even when no one else could see it. Silence stretched between them. You hurt me deeply, he said honestly. But you also unknowingly gave me the fuel I needed. Every rejection, every insult, it all pushed me forward. She nodded, wiping her tears. If I could go back. You can't, he said calmly. Life doesn't work that way. Her heart sank. But, he added, you can choose who you are from this moment onward. She looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. He picked up her file and opened it. Professionally, he said, you're qualified. You worked hard. You earned this interview. Her breath caught. But personally, he continued, closing the file, this company is built on values. Humility. Growth. Respect for effort. She waited, barely breathing. I won't reject you the way you rejected me, he said. That would make me the same. Tears streamed down her face. So, do I get the job? She asked quietly. Yes, he replied. But not the position you applied for. Her heart dropped again. You'll start one level lower, he explained. Not as punishment, but as a reminder. Everyone here starts where they learn to value people, not status. She nodded immediately. I accept. I'll prove myself. I know you will, he said. She stood up, hesitating. And us? She asked, almost afraid of the answer. He smiled, softly, without bitterness. There was a time I waited outside your gate, hoping you'd choose me, he said. Now, I don't wait outside anyone's gate anymore. She understood. He opened the door for her. As she walked out, she turned back once. I'm proud of you, she said sincerely. So am I, he replied. Of the man I became. Months later, she worked harder than anyone in the office. She came early, left late. She listened more than she spoke. Slowly, people began to respect her, not for her clothes, not for her past, but for her dedication. One evening, as she left the building, she saw him walking toward the exit. On foot. Not because he had to. But because he chose to. Their eyes met. He smiled politely and walked past her, disappearing into the crowd. She stood there watching, finally understanding a truth she had learned too late. Some people walk today, so they can stand taller tomorrow.